You've tackled the essentials, your gate and compressor, and now you're at the heart of your tone, the amp selection screen. And it is overwhelming. 30 plus odd amps staring back at you from this screen. No menu, no descriptions, just a vague picture and a name that almost means nothing. It's the paradox of choice, and it's precisely why your rock tone sounds less like thunder and more like a wet fart in a shoebox. But that's why I'm here. Let's fix that. And for those just joining the party, this is the second stop in a series where I, your reluctant guide, am dragging you towards tonal competence. But first, the 5-second recap. A spark tone is a chain of 7 slots. Gate, compressor, drive, amp, modulation, delay and reverb. We've handled those first 2 boring but essential slots in the last video. And today we're talking about the main event, the amp. And this isn't just another effect you can turn on and off. This is the heart of your sound, the voice, the personality, the entire sonic DNA before you start accessorizing. You get this wrong and it doesn't matter what you do later, you'll just be putting lipstick on a pig. And for the record, we're only talking about guitar amps today. The bass and acoustic stuff is for another day if I ever get to it. Now, before we try to decipher this digital mess of options, let's establish some basic rules of engagement. A repeatable process to dial in a great tone on any of these amps. Let's look at the knobs. They all have the same ones. You've got your gain, volume, and your EQ, bass, mid and treble. And they all have their own function, of course. Think of it this way. Your amp has 2 stages. The first is the preamp, which is where you create your tone. And the second is the power amp, which just makes that tone loud. The gain knob controls the preamp. It's the input level kind of. At low settings, your signal is clear. As you turn it up, you're saturating the virtual tubes, pushing them to break up and create a distortion, crunch and sustain. Basically all the good stuff. This is where you decide if your amp is going to be a polite conversationalist or a screaming maniac. The volume or master volume controls the power amp. It's the output level. It has nothing to do with character, it's simply loudness control. After you sculpted your perfect sound with the gain up, you use this to set the listening level. Now the EQ, these are your sculpting tools. Bass is the thump, too much makes it muddy. Treble is the sparkle, the bite, too much and it's like an ice pick in your ear. And then there's the mids. This is probably the most important one. Mids are the guitar's voice in the band. Too little and you vanish from the mix like a drummer's opinion. Too much and you sound like you're playing through a rusty telephone. So here's the process, 4 steps to stop sounding like an amateur. Step 1, set a neutral baseline. Pick an amp and then set all the EQ knobs, bass, middle and treble to 12 o'clock, straight up, and then turn gain and volume almost all the way down. Step 2, set your gain. Start playing and slowly bring up the gain until you have the exact amount of breakup or distortion you want. Then stop there, this is your core character. Step 3, easy, set your volume. Bring your master volume up to a comfortable level, because you can't judge a tone if you can't hear it properly. And then finally, step 4, sculpt your EQ. This is where the magic happens. Start with the mids, need to cut through, push them up. Want that hollowed out middle sound, pull them back a bit. And then adjust your treble for clarity and finally add bass for weight. But be careful not to create a muddy sound. And that's it. That's the basic process for any amp model listed in your Spark app. Positive Grid in their infinite wisdom just threw all these amps into one digital bucket with no labels. Now, you could try to categorize them in a few ways. You could sort them by country of origin, American versus British versus German voicing, or you could separate the tube emulations from the solid-state models. But let's be honest, that's all a bit academic. When you're searching for a sound, you're not thinking, I feel like a German voiced amp today. No, you're thinking more, I need something clean or I need something heavy. So I've done the work. We're going to categorize these using the only metric that actually matters for getting the job done, and that's gain profile. How much horsepower can it produce? From pristine clean to just a little bit angry, all the way to melt your face off. So let's begin. Category 1, clean. And I mean actually clean, not Coldplay clean, which is just the tonal equivalent of mediocrity. These amps are for funk, jazz, pop, and those beautiful moments in a rock song just before the chaos kicks in. Your main options here are the Silver 120, that's based on the Roland JC120, and the Black Duo, which is based on the legendary Fender Twin Reverb. The Roland is a solid-state amp famous for its glassy clean and iconic chorus. Think the Police. The Fender Twin is the sound of, well, almost everything else. It's the definition of a loud, sparkling tube amp. Think Dire Straits. Now there are a few other amps in this category worth a mention. You have the American Deluxe and Lux Verb, both based on the Fender Deluxe Reverb, which is like the twins' smaller, warmer studio cousin. Then there's also the AD Clean, based on the Orange AD30, if you want your clean tone with a bit of a British accent and more mid-range chime. And for the boutique crowd, there's a two-stone SP50, a nod to two-rock amps favored by guys like John Mayer. Category 2, Edge-of-breakup. This is where things get interesting, the sweet spot where the amp talks back to you. Plays nice when you're gentle, but gets pissed off when you dig in. This is the DNA of blues, indie and classic rock. The two titans in this category, the tweed bass, modeled after the Fender 59 Bassman, and the AC Boost, the legendary Vox AC30. The Bassman is the amp that practically started it all, raw, gritty, and the sound of the early rock and blues movements. The AC30 is the sound of the British invasion. It's all about that famous chime. Think U2, Queen, The Beatles. The rest of this category follows a similar path. The Checkmate is a Vox AC15, the AC30's smaller, earlier breaking sibling, the Blues Boy is a Fender's Blues Junior, a modern workhouse for blues and indie, and the Match DC is a matchless DC30, a boutique, hyper-engineered take on the classic Vox. Alright, a quick timeout. If you've learned more in the last 5 minutes than you have in 5 months of aimless knob twiddling, show some gratitude and click the like button. It feeds my ego. And subscribe, because the next video we're getting into drive pedals. And you're absolutely going to need a guide on those. And now back to it. Category 3, mid-gain and crunch. This is the sound of 70s stadium rock, when jeans were tight and guitar solos were an art form. This is your classic and hard rock territory. The key players in this category are the JM45 and the Plexiglass. Both are Marshall amps. The JM45 is the first Marshall ever made, warmer, rounder and bluesier. And the Plexiglass, that's the 1959 Super Lead, basically the sound of rock gods. It's loud, it's rude, and it's perfect. And for a completely different flavor of crunch, there's also the ODS50, an emulation of the mythical unobtainable Dumble Overdrive Special, known for its smooth vocal-like overdrive. Category 4, high gain. Now we're getting into the heavy stuff. 80s metal, shred, grunge, modern rock. Less how do you do, more who the fuck are you? The two incredible models here are the SLO 100, the Soldano that defined the 80s and the 90s high gain, and the BE 101, the Friedman amp that represents the ultimate hot-rodded Marshall sound. The Soldano is liquid fire, a smooth, articulate and endless sustain, the sound of modern guitar heroes. The Friedman BE 101 is the modern rock workhouse. It's tight, punchy, and has this percussive character that just works. Think Foo Fighters or Alice in Chains. And this category is packed with other flavors of aggression as well. You've got your British 30 or your Rocker V, which are both orange amps offering a fuzzy, saturated British gain that's become a staple for modern heavy rock. And for the shred inclined, there's the YJM 100, a modified Marshall designed for one thing, ridiculously fast neoclassical nonsense. Category 5, modern metal high gain, and probably the reason your neighbors hate you. This is for when you need surgical precision and enough gain to tear a hole in the fabric of space-time. This is modern metal. The two undisputed kings of this world are the American high gain, which is based on the Mesa Boogie dual rectifier, and the Insane 6508 based on the PV. The rectifier is a sound of 90s and 2000 metal. It's huge, it's angry, and it defined a generation. But for more modern metalcore and beyond, you need the tight aggressive punch of the 6508. It's less of a roar and more of a percussive sledgehammer. This category is also home to the tread plate, which is another take on the Mesa rectifier sound, and also to the RB101, a model of the Ultra Rev generator. The Switch X from Hughes and Kettner for a versatile German high-gain flavor, and the original Insane model from Line 6, which is its own unique brand of digital mayhem. So, to summarize, we have our clean amps for funk, jazz and pop, followed by Edge-of-breakup, the territory of blues, indie and classic rock. Then we have mid-gain crunch, the sound of 70s stadium hard rock. Then high gain for that 80s metal sound, grunge and modern rock. And then finally modern metal high gain for the tight percussive high gain sound of today. So you can stop guessing now, stop scrolling endlessly like you're trying to find something to watch on Netflix. Pick a lane based on the sound in your head, dial it in using the 4-step method, and hopefully you can stop making everything sound as hollow and painful as Lou Reed's Metal Machine music. And if you don't get that reference, consider yourself very lucky. In the next video we will tackle the drive pedals, the spice rack, the little boxes of dirt, fuzz and filth that push these amps into entirely new levels of sonic depravity. You'll want to be here for that, so don't forget to subscribe and see you then.